Watcher, welcome back to Delboy's Garage. Now, here's a little nugget for you. 3 or 4 times in the last few weeks I've had people emailing us about heated grips, how to wire in the heated grips, and it's a specific question that keeps coming up. It's not just that, we've had a question recently about lights. Somebody wanted to fit a light bar on the front of their custom bike, which you have the bar across and you put the 2 lights, the 2 cruise lights either side of the headlight, that sort of thing that you have on things like tour glides. And people have also said about Sat-Navs and iPod sockets and so on. So what I want to cover just very quickly is 2 things. People are emailing us with a certain question, and it's quite comical really. You're getting, is it okay, please say yes, to wire it straight to the battery, please say yes. Well, no it's not, I'm afraid, because if you wire any of your accessories, and this is what this is about today, it's about wiring accessories. If you wire an accessory part, something you buy, when especially you young riders, you're very much into your Sat-Nav and your iPods and all your bits and bobs on the bike, especially heated grips this time of year, and people want to just take that little ring connector and just wire it straight to the battery live. But the problem inherent with that obviously is you're going to leave it switched on. It's okay with lights and iPods and bits and pieces that actually physically work. You'll see them left on, but heated grips are the worst one. You can't see them left on. You get a little red light on the switch, but you're going to miss that, aren't you? You're going to leave your grips on, come back to your bike, flat battery, and it might be just when you want to go home, so it's the last thing you want. So what you need to do is when you wire anything into a bike that is an accessory part, you must wire it into a switched live. What a switched live is very simple. It's a live cable, an electronic or electric wire, live wire, that is switched on and off by the ignition switch. So when you take the key out of the bike and walk away, the whole lot's dead. The only thing that you should be wiring to your battery directly is your charging pigtail, so that you can charge the battery direct, and that's kind of an input rather than an output. Other than that, it should just be just the loom connections only. So I'm going to show you how to locate a switched live in the bike, because sometimes it's quite hard to do. And when you've done it, I'm going to give a quick how-to on how to actually graft an auxiliary power lead into your switch live that's nice and safe, permanent and secure, and you can use it then to connect all your bits and bobs to. Okay, dig around, stay tuned, see what happens. Right, here we are with the Bandit Odoo. Right, all I've done is take the seat unit off to expose the fuse box. Now you can do, there's a few places you can find a switched live. One is at the front of the bike, under here. Look, you've got the ignition switch. Underneath the ignition switch is a bunch of wiring, but as you can see, if I just come that way, it's quite hard to get to the wiring that lives under the back of the ignition switch. And I don't like doing that anyway, because it's really a bugger to get to. But if you look here where your switch block is, this is your fuse box. If you look in the top, you should have, if you've got a Japanese bike or anything halfway modern, the lid should come off. You've got your standard set of fuses in there, okay? Now, underneath you'll get all the wiring that comes out there. And all these wires are all nicely insulated, they're nicely tucked in. So how do you know which one of these comes on and off with the ignition and which one doesn't? And it's ever so simple. Take a sewing needle, ordinary, regular, common and garden sewing needle, nice and sharp, and then find a wire that looks likely so. There's a reasonably fat one, right? The fatter the better. And just pop the needle into it. Now you only need to push it in about 1 millimetre, because that gets through the 1 millimetre thick insulation. When you stuck it in so it sticks like that, turn your ignition on, get yourself a test light, and if you just connect it there we are. That is a switch live. If I turn the ignition off, try again, it's dead. Turn the ignition on, that should come back to life. There we are. So I know, coming close, man, that particular lead there, that one, is a switch live there. So that goes off when you switch key off, and it's on when it's on. Now you can just put a bit of tape around that to remember, and if you want to do anything with your bike, you just graft a wire into that there. Okay, so now if I look at this bike, I've got all this insulation here, and I've got, that goes into the loom here. So the trick is to bear a load of this insulating tape back, undo it all out the way, don't cut it. Here we are, let me show you something quick. Come over to the toolbox pen, the toolbox Odoo. If you are going to cut back your insulating, for cutting back insulating tape, use one of them. That's a lino knife, a linoleum cutting knife, because when it goes in, it will cut back the tape rather than cutting the wiring if you have to cut it, but better still, unravel it. Anyway, once you've got the wiring bared back, then you can graft an extra wire into that, and a nice safe graft, then you've got a power lead coming off a switched live. So let's leave the bike for now. I'm going to come to the bench and actually show you in live, a little bit close up and easier to see, the easiest way to graft this in. Alright? Okay, right, so we've located a switched live. That's a very important thing to do. Don't just go ring tabbing it onto your battery. It's a crap way to do it, it really is, and you should be ashamed if you do that. This is the simplest, honestly it's the simplest way. Like I said, use a needle, prick it in, and you'll find that you just touch the needle and that's your switch live. The little hole that the needle makes seals itself up. It will not be a problem, honestly. And if you really are utterly OCD, even more than me, dab a super glue on the little spike that you make and it'll seal it. Now, let's say, just for instance, that's the lead you found. I'm going to do it on the bench because it's easier rather than faffing around under the bike, and I'm not going to cut my lead, but I absolutely need to. Right, so we're going to call that the auxiliary lead. Always use red because then you know it's a live lead. And we're going to just use this bit of spare wire that I've got. Now let's say that's in the loom, and that's the one we've decided is our switch live. And you just need a couple of these little connectors, red one, blue one, as makes no difference because we're going to shrink it all in, and a piece of heat shrink about 3 inches long, and a pair of these. You've all seen these, get them anywhere. Right, now remember one thing, if you've got a bunch of wiring in the loom and all the wires are the same length and you're going to graft into one of them, the last thing you want to do is make it too short. If you make it too short, then the whole thing gets a bit bunched up when you try and re-wrap it with new tape. So it wants to kind of stay the same level, and here's how you do that. Decide where you want to cut. Never cut more than 6 inches or less than 6 inches away from what you're doing. So let's say that there is where the plug is. Give yourself at least 6 inches before you make a cut. That way, if you have to cut back again because you've made a cock up, you're not too close, you're actually messing around trying to then rewire your fuse box. So give yourself a minimum 6 inches. If you've got that much, go in the middle, and you've got lots of space. That's all you do. Actually, tell you what I'm going to do. Use proper crimps. There's a penny bought me. There we go. So crop the wire and bare back each piece of the wire by about a centimetre or so. It doesn't have to be absolutely. Cock on and just give it a little twist. Now this is the loom so far. Do the other half. Be careful not to make a cock up with this, because if you do then you have to cut back further, then you start to shorten it, and I just said best not to shorten it. So there we are. Give it a little twist. You don't twist it up too much, just enough so it don't sort of fray out. So there's the two pieces of your loom. You've cut that and you've bared it back by this much. Then you take your auxiliary wire that you want to graft in and do exactly the same. Just bare back about a centimetre or so of the wire, and that'll be fine. More on that one. These are a bit stiff, these pliers, quite new. Okay, you get the picture in there. There we go. Right, now in all these situations, that is fundamentally how we're going to do it, like that. That's the graft. So the first task is pop your little bit of heat shrink on one end, because that's pre-preparing it so you can sleeve it over afterwards. Then pop one end in until this insulation touches the metalwork inside there. Can you see that in the light pen? Mm-hmm. So go right inside this plastic sleeve till it touches the metalwork. You can feel it ground as it goes in, and then what you'll get is that you want the wire to go halfway in to the connector. So pop that in and you'll feel it touch. There it is. Hold that, give it a crimp. Now these crimpers, you can see that you've got different sizes according to the different colours of these things, so it's the correct one to use. And just crimp it once with a good firm, nice hard crimp. You can buy fancy pants ones of these with ratchets on, but I can't afford that. I'm just a poor motorcyclist. Right, so that's in nice and safe. Now the next way is just get those two now. Just bear them together, but not too much. If you twist them really tight, they'll get fatter and shorter. Just put them together so they're nice and tidy. There's no fray bits, and then feed them in that end. There it is, all the way in. until those two pieces of insulation again touch the metalwork inside, and again in the same flat way as that, give that a crimp as well, and then a crimp in the middle just to shut the whole thing down. That's it. Pop your heat shrink over the top until the whole shooting match is roughly in the middle. Take your favourite toy lighter and just heat shrink it all in. Heat shrink, in my opinion, is essential because this will keep the water out. And before I get absolutely fried in the comments box for not soldering this, this is really aimed at you guys who are not. So there we are. Just touch that in there. Now that is a good light was still running. So there we are. That's a good graft. You've got your live lead reconnected, and then you've got your auxiliary power lead coming off it, and that is a nice, safe, permanent graft. If obviously you've used a big fat piece to get over these two, what you could do is come in here with a little thinner piece of heat shrink and heat shrink that down so it's really sealed. And the principle is, yeah, you could solder this, but I'm aiming this at you guys who have absolutely no idea how to wire in an accessory, and I would imagine you're probably not brilliant solderers, because I'm not, and I don't like my soldering. It can sometimes crack. I'm just not brilliant at it, and I think these crimps are brilliant. They ain't coming apart, it really ain't. If you crimp them properly, they will not come undone. So there we are. Now, if ever you choose to remove this accessory, I don't want to talk about relays and fuses. If you're going to wire in an accessory, there will be instructions, and it will say connect to a live supply. That's it. Well, all this video is about is making that live supply, and there it is. So what you can do with that, once you're done, is coil it up, bit of tape around it, and just put ACC, accessory live. Okay, and that's it, and you'll always know where it is. If you sell the bike in the future, you want to take the accessories off, just take that out, crop off what you've got, and you can leave that on the bike. You don't have to take it off. It's just a neat little three-way extension. Okay, there you go. Any questions? Were you watching?
I was watching. I know how to do it.
Okay. Penny actually does. Penny got good wiring, don't you?
Yep.
Little fingers and all that. Right, there you go, folks. Take it easy, ride safe. Now, the forum, very, very amazing, very quickly, I must say this. Thank you so much. I don't really know how to say it. The forum, well, you just lit it on fire, didn't you?
It's alive.
We went from 71 members, of which 60 odd were pretty dormant, to I think, what's the last count?
198.
198. So there's something like 150 plus extra of you that have joined the forum, and that is utterly outstanding. So thank you so much for that. We are determined to meet you all at some point or another. It is a small world. We're amazed how many of you are local along the south coast here. We're going to meet you this year. Oh yes, we are. There's Lumi's Cafe, which everybody knows Lumi's. We're going to get on there and meet a few of you. We've got the Bulldog, haven't we? And it's about 6 new of you coming to the Bulldog, which is great.
We go to Kilmington. We go to
Kilmington Cafe, Devon, Swanage, Poole Key, and all
Muddyford, over. Christchurch. We go Somerset.
She knows.
We bomb everywhere.
So look forward to seeing you all at some point. We believe not in the virtual, but in the reality. We want to meet you all. That's what it's all about. Forums are just a place to chat, meeting people what it's all about. Okay, there we are. Anything else, Ben? Take it easy, folks. See you on the forum. Keep signing up. Ride safe. See you next time.